9 ball is the fastest growing tournament game in America. Even though 8 ball is the most popular played game in the United States, 9 ball is the fastest and the most popular tournament game among the professionals. And today what we're going to do is show you a few things that will help you improve your own 9 ball game. And we're going to start with the break shot. And the break shot in 9 ball may be the most important shot of the whole game. It definitely can set you up in a position to win the game or to lose it, depending on how good you break. Now, the break shot in 9 ball, you start out with the cue ball. You can put the cue ball right out on the head string, right in the center of the table if you want. A lot of good players may move it as far as a foot or so to the right of the spot or a foot or so to the left of the spot. You just have to experiment and find out which spot that you like the best. But in 9 ball, the most important thing on the break shot is the first shot when you aiming at this 1 ball. If you break from this center spot, you want to be sure that you hit this front ball absolutely square. Because if you hit it a little off center to the left or to the right, the problem is you're just not applying that much force to the balls behind it. Plus, you're turning the cue ball loose. By hitting it square, we're applying the most impact to the balls behind it that we can. And at the same time, if we hit the cue ball a little below center or about the middle, we want that cue ball to jump right back in the middle of the table. Because in 9 ball, which is a lot different than 8 ball and straight pool and some of the other games, we can only shoot at this 1 ball after the break, unless it happens to go in, which usually you're trying to play position on the 1 ball. So regardless of where that 1 ball goes, if we get the cue ball in the middle of the table, the longest shot we're going to have is a half table shot. And like this is a regulation size table, a 9-foot table that the pros play most of their tournaments on. So position on the 1 ball is the key. You don't want that cue ball to run loose. You want it to just jump back from the 1 and stop in the middle of the table. Now, you're not going to do that every time, but that's what you should be working toward. Now, I'm going to break them and try to break them from the middle of the table, shoot right down and hit that 1. Try to make a ball in the break. Now, different tables, as I said earlier, some people like to break on either side, and you just have to experiment. Some tables seem to break better from the left, some from the right. And as far as the speed, you want to shoot it as hard as you can and still control the cue ball. Once again, on the break stroke, pull back slow and use all your energy on the forward stroke. And this is probably the toughest shot to aim in pool, is the 9 ball break shot. Okay. Now, we spread them out real good. We got the cue ball came back just a little bit too far. And we didn't make a ball. We did hit the 1 ball pretty square because it came pretty straight back. Okay, let's try that again. Jerry, would you help me rack these up? Okay, now what we're going to do this time is try to hit that cue ball just a fraction higher because it drew back a little too far, so we have to adjust. And that's what a lot of pool's all about. You have to notice your mistakes and try to adjust and figure out what you did wrong. Okay, now that was a little better. The cue ball, a real square hit. The cue ball jumped back, and it did come back forward a little bit, but I've got a real nice position on the 1 where I can either cut it in the side or play a combination on the 1 and the 7. But that was a nice square hit, a lot of force. The only thing, it might have came up a little too high in the air. And what you want to remember is try to guard against getting that cue too high in the air, because a lot of people seem to want to, they think the higher you raise the butt, the better luck you're going to have. But on all your shots, you want to try to keep your cue as close to level as you can. Okay, let's try one more, Jerry. See how it works. that time the cue ball didn't move very much. It came back by the side pockets. It went a little bit to the left, but you can see that I've got real nice shape on the 1 ball. And 3-6, made 2 balls on the break. So I got, that's, what really helps you make a ball on the break is that square impact on the 1. Like I say, the ideal spot is right here in the center, but as long as you can keep it any place up around the side pocket, you're going to have a pretty good shot. The 1 ball, normally the 1 ball does come back on the break, so you usually get it in one of these 4 pockets. These are the 4 pockets you're normally going to have position on the 1. Made a couple balls on the break. We've got the 1 ball position on the 1 exactly, which is what we want. Now, how do we get the balls off the table? What does a professional think about when he's running a frame of balls? Okay, a lot of people, you have to think ahead. The first thing I want to do is figure out how I'm going to play this table. And I'm going to play the 1 in the side, but what's real crucial is this angle I get on the 2. I need to get an angle, come back just maybe like an inch or 2, so that I've got an angle where when I draw that cue ball back, I come to the right over this direction, so I can draw to this rail or this rail, depending on quite what angle I get. I won't know until I hit the shot and get position on this 4 ball for this pocket. Okay, these first 3 shots are real crucial. Now the 4, depending on what angle I get, I'll probably play the 6 in one of those 2 corners or one of these 2 sides. It just depends on the angle that I get on the 4, and I can see that the 6, 7, 8, 9, once I get to the 6, if I get good position on the 6, that it's going to be pretty routine after that. The real key is the 1, 2, 4, and 6. Once I get to the 6, good position on the 6, I'm going to be in real good shape. Now, this first shot, I just got through telling you a few minutes ago that you very seldom elevate your cue. Well, a lot of the things that I say are general things that you should follow most of the time. But here's one example where you will have to elevate your cue, because I have to hit the cue ball close to the bottom to draw it back an inch or stop it. And to do that, the only way, since the cue ball is close to the rail, I have to elevate my cue a little bit. Okay, now I've got position on the 2. I've drew it back about half inch too far, because now I've got an angle where I'm coming straight back toward the 7. But what I'm going to do is try to make it just barely miss this 7 and come right back toward this end rail, and I'm going to play the 4 ball in that pocket. So see, the angle changes my strategy. The angle on this 2, just a half inch here, means a difference between coming back along this side, playing the 4 in this pocket, or drawing it over here and playing it in this pocket. But that's one thing in 9 ball that you don't have in other games, is you always know which ball you have to shoot next. You don't have any choice on that, which you do have in some of the other games. Now I just want to draw it back and get that 4 for that corner pocket. Okay, control's the name of the game. Okay, now I've got a nice angle on this 4 ball for the corner pocket. I'm right in position. I feel real comfortable with the position I've got on this 4. I really like it. And now what I'm going to do on this 4 is I'm going to play it off this rail. And I've got a natural angle just kind of to follow forward to this rail and bounce off. I want to get it off the rail. You always got to guard against getting the cue ball on the rail, because you can't draw it or put any English on it when you get on the rail. But I want to try to get it straight in for that corner pocket. I want to try to get an angle close to straight in. And I'm not trying to put the cue ball on a dime. Like, I'm not trying to put the cue ball right against this piece of chalk. Like, what I'm trying to get on is, once I want to try to hit the rail over here where I come off at the angle that my cue's on here toward the corner pocket. And once the cue ball gets about this far off, any place from here to here will be just perfect. In 9 ball versus maybe 8 ball or straight pool, 9 ball, you have to move the cue ball greater distances, and you use a lot more English, and you play a lot more of angles and general position. You're usually not trying to stop the cue ball on a dime. You're playing more of the natural angles that you get. Okay, I got the cue ball off the rail, a little hard, and I came a little shorter than I want, but at least I got close to the 6. I don't mind this shot too bad, because I am close to it. So instead of playing in that pocket, I'm going to cut it in the right. And what I want to do when I come off this rail is just bounce off the rail a little bit, and I'll have the 7 in this pocket. Main thing was I just wanted to make that ball because I can make the 7. I wasn't too concerned with where the cue ball went on that shot because I can make it from here, here, here. Okay, now I'm going to play the 7 in this pocket. I got a little angle, so when I play it, the 7 ball, I want it to hit the end rail, and I want it to come over to this rail, okay? And I'm going to hit well short of the side pocket because I don't want it to come 1 in the side and go in the side. I don't want to take that risk. I'm going to have it hit about the middle of the table and just get off the rail so that when I play the 8 in this pocket, that the cue ball just gets off the table. I'm not going to do anything unnecessary like try to make the cue ball go 2 or 3 rails. I just want to do what is the simplest and the easiest. And I'm going to hit the cue ball just about the middle here. Okay, I'm going a little too far, a little further than I wanted. I'm still all right, though. I don't mind this too bad. I would like to shot a little easier and stopped about here. But now, what changes, instead of just bouncing off the rail, I've got too thin an angle on this 8. I'm going to cut it in that pocket, hit the rail with just a little maybe right English, and try to come back on an angle maybe about like this, and then just bounce out and try to get around the middle of the table, maybe a little further, so that I've got a nice shot on the 9 ball, 2 rails. Okay, and I got back over past the center of the table, and now I just need to concentrate. Don't get in any big hurry because this is the one where you win the game when you make this one. This is the only one that counts as far as winning or losing the game. Okay, now let's go through another frame. Jerry, you want to help me rack these up? We're going to break them and run through another frame. While Jerry's racking them, I'll mention a couple things. One of the main things I look for when I'm breaking the balls is I don't watch where all the balls are going. Most of the time, what I'm really concerned with is controlling this cue ball. I look to see where it's going, because if it goes to the left, the next time I break, I know that the last time it went to the left, so I try to adjust and aim just a little bit further to the right, okay, so that I can get that cue ball back more to the middle. So I'm always thinking about the things maybe where I shoot a little too hard, a little too easy, come off the rail at the wrong angle. I notice all that, and that's one of the keys to learning to play good pool is notice your mistakes, and you'll keep improving as you go along if you adjust them. Okay, let's see what happens on this break now. We're going to try to open them up a little. Okay, we went to the left a little bit again. We made 2 balls, perfect shape on the 1, and we've got another nice layout. I can already see, and any top professional can already see from the looks of this frame that he really likes the way these balls broke because he's got a nice easy shot on the 1 for the corner, or he could cut it in the side, and everything's open. There's nothing tied up. Okay, the only thing on this layout is this angle on the 2. I'm going to play the 1 in the corner, just miss this side, draw it over here, and bounce off the rail. I like to keep the cue ball off the rail. Then I've got a natural angle to cut the blue ball in the corner, and then draw up and play the 3 in that pocket. Depending on what angle I get on the 3 will depend on how many rails I use to get on the 4. But here, there's really, I just don't want to get careless. Everything's laying where it's fairly easy to run out if you don't make any mistakes. Okay, now I'm going to play the 2. What I'm going to do on the 2, when I play, I'm going to cut the 2 in. And I've got to look to see the angle on this 3 is real important. What I'm going to do, I'm going to hit the cue ball in the middle. I could try to spin it up here, but I'm just not going to gain that much because that 3's so close to the hole. What I'm going to do is cut the 2 in, hit this rail, just try to bounce back out any place around in here. So you see again that I'm playing more area position, general area, and I'm not taking any foolish chances to make the cue ball go extra rails or using a lot of fancy English to try and impress somebody. I just want to do what's the simplest and the easiest. Now I've got an angle on the 3 where I can hit this end rail, come over and hit this rail, try to come up any place right in here, and I've got a nice easy shot on the 4. And then 5 to the 8, that could be a little bit tricky, but it depends on what angle I get on the 4. I've got to get a nice angle on that 4 to get on the 5, and then I need a good angle on the 5 to get on the 8. Okay. Now the angle that I've got on the 4, okay, what I'm going to do is cut the 4 in the corner, draw it over to this rail, miss the 9, I want to be sure I miss the 9, hit this rail, and then bounce out. I like to be coming off the rail at an angle like this, because once I get any place from about here on the table, any place to here, I've got the angle that I need to play the 5 in that corner, and then just bounce one rail and come up here for the 8 in that pocket. So I'm going to play 2 rail shape on the 5. The reason I had to play 2 shape in this case is because if I went forward, I'd run into the 8, and I don't want to run into the 8. It's getting off the rail, so I can hit it with a little low left English and make it come off this rail, come into this rail, and just bounce off any place in here. Just be sure you don't scratch one in the side on this shot. Put enough low on it or left English where you don't scratch in the side. And we're in real good shape now. This is the dream of all professional players, is to end up with 8 and 9 like this, because I just play the 8 in here, draw it over here, and draw right over here for a nice easy shot on the 9. Okay, I bounced off a little further than I want. And we gotta, just don't get careless on this shot. And I'm gonna use the bridge. The thing when using the bridge is you just want to be sure that you hold that down with your left hand. You just don't want it to move. You only want to move your cue and sight right down the whole thing. Okay, now let's try one more. We'll try one more and then see what happens this time when we break them. The last 2 breaks, I've been going a little bit to the left, so I'm going to try to adjust my aim just a little and try to get the cue ball a little bit more in the middle, but the balls have been opening up real good. 1 and 2 balls have been going on the break and getting good position on the 1. Okay, we controlled it a little better this time, but nothing went on the break. Okay, and our opponent's left with a real difficult cut shot. Well, he can't even hit all the 1, so he's going to have to kick it. And any time that you're snookered, so to speak, where you have to go to rail and come off and hit the 1, those are extremely difficult shots, and usually those are what end your runs. And that shows you a little bit about what a professional thinks about when he's running a pattern ball. Is one thing, you don't have to worry in 9 ball about what ball that you shoot next. That's already predetermined for you. But where you have to think is what's the easiest way to go from one ball to the next. That's the key. And the only way that you'll consistently run out is you must think at least a minimum of 3 balls ahead. And a good player comes to the table immediately, and you saw that some of those tables I looked pretty far ahead, and some of them just about 3, 4 balls ahead, and I could tell where I might have problems. And after you practice several frames, you run through a lot of different patterns of 9 ball, you'll be able to do the same thing if you start to think about what your strategy is going to be, whether you're going to go 1 rail, 2 rails. And during that frame of balls, one thing that you should have noticed is I really try, when I'm playing position, to have that cue ball be going away from the rail toward the ball I'm going to make, instead of a lot of times going maybe 1 rail and going right toward the rail, because you got to keep the cue ball off the rail to play good position. And now we're going to show you a little bit about what you're thinking about when you're running those balls. Now we're going to move on and show you 3 or 4 of the basic shots that I use to run that frame of balls, how to execute them and how different situations come up, and so that you'll be able to practice on these different position shots and be able to apply them when you play a game of a 9-ball. Okay, now that we've showed you a couple or three frames where we had to run out, showed you a little bit about how to think ahead and run out. Now we're going to show you 3 or 4 of the basic shots that you use to play position that enables you to run out. Now we're going to set this 5-ball and the cue ball in the same spot each time, and we're going to show you how you have to change the way that you play position. Here's the 9, here's the 7, here's the 8, and here's the 6. We've got to play position on the 6 next. Now the 9 and these balls we can't draw around. The 9's in the way of going forward. So the only way we can play position on the 6 ball is when we play the 5 in the rail. We've got to hit this end rail, come up missing the 9. Got to miss the 9 or we'll stick on this end. Come all the way up the table and come all the way up for this green 6 ball. Right here. We've got to come up close to the end rail. And to do that, it just depends on where the tip of this cue hits that white cue ball. Well, let's see how that works. We're going to have to hit it high above center and shoot hard enough to get it down the table. Okay, now, as you can see, I'm coming up the table, but I'm coming head on to the 6. Now, earlier, when I told you that the most important thing when I was breaking the balls was the thing I watched was the cue ball so that I could correct it. Okay, now I made a mistake there on the angle that I come off the rail. I came too straight up the table. I wanted to go more forward. Okay, so how do I do that? Okay, well, I just this time, instead of hitting the cue ball high above center in the middle, I use a little bit of right English. And that right English will make it go a little more to the right so I won't come straight at the 6, so that I'll be over to the side here where I'll have a shot. And a little harder, too. That's a little too easy. See, those are the things I noticed on that shot. Too easy and the wrong angle coming down the table. And now it's going over toward the rail. And you can see that I've got a nice shot on the 6. Nice, easy shot. Oh, one danger of that shot is scratching in this corner pocket. And that particular one is a hard one to guard against. You're still, even though I played so many different racks and everything, I still don't know quite the angle that that particular shot was coming on, but I was trying to get it over to this side. But you do have to guard against finding this pocket. Now, the next shot, we're going to put this 5 and the cue ball right back where they were at. Okay, now let's move the 9 a little bit here. Okay, now this 9 is blocking, coming straight up the table to go over to that right side. Now, how do we play it? Okay, now we can follow forward and hit the rail here and put a lot of right English so that it'll spin over and hit this second rail. And we're going to try to come in short of this corner pocket. Now here I'm not going to be guessing so much. Anytime you come one rail outside of speed, it's tough to judge your angle coming straight up the table. But here I can judge my angle much better. I'd like to bring it in, and I'm going to be pretty sure that I come in. I want to be sure that I come in short of this corner pocket so that then I can just drift down for the 6 on a 3-rail shot. And to do that, now I have to hit the cue ball with a lot of right English. I hit it over close to the edge. Show you how that works. Okay, and that was just the way that I laid it out. Now that one worked absolutely perfect. I even got a nice angle on the 6 ball to get right back up the table. So the same shot, 2 different ways to play position, and what determines the way you play position is the way that these other balls were laying on the table. I didn't have a choice here. That's the only way that I could go. Okay, now let's move the 7 and 8 here where they're blocking it out where I can't go 2 rails now. Now I have to go the other direction. Instead of forward, I just come backwards. This time, instead of using right English, I'm going to hit it with low left and draw the cue ball over here, and I want it to hit this rail. And then again, I want to play it to come in short of the corner pocket. I don't want to just hope that I miss the corner pocket. I want to play it so that it hits this 3rd rail short of the pocket, and it comes off the rail and drifts down for the 6. And again, for position, you see how I'm coming away from the rail. Okay, and to get that angle just depends on where you hit the cue ball again. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to hit the cue ball down about 7 o'clock, maybe 8 o'clock with a lot of left English. Okay, and that's real nice. That's real nice. Missed the corner pocket, and again, we've got a nice angle on the 6 to get back up the table to play that combination on the 7 and the 8. And that was just one shot. We kept putting the 5 and the cue ball back in the same place, but there was 3 different ways that we had to play position. And a good player can take a shot like this. But what influenced the direction that I had to play position was these other balls on the table. And that's one thing you'll find out in 9-ball is the more balls you get off the table, the easier it is to run out in 9-ball because you don't have so many obstacles. In this one basic shot, there's 3 different ways that I played position on this one basic shot. Next, we're going to show you another shot that comes up almost every rack of 9-ball and show you how it works. We're going to show you another shot and show you it comes up every rack that you play in 9-ball. You'll see it rack after rack after rack. And from the same shot, we're going to show that you need to master controlling this cue ball. Now here's a shot on the 8. We want to get on the 9. How do we get on the 9? Okay. Well, we got an angle on the 8 where when we cut it in the corner pocket that it's going to go into this rail someplace. And naturally, we'd like to be over in this area right here for the 9. How do we get there? Okay. We're going to play the 8 in the corner, bounce off this rail, and we want it to go forward after it hits this rail. And bounce over, hit this rail, maybe come off a little for a shot on the 9. To do that, what we do is elevate the cue, hit the cue ball close to the middle, right above center, and just kind of a follow stroke. Just follow forward, okay, and we bounced off the second rail. This is maybe just a little thinner than you like. You say, well, that's not such an easy shot at all. Say, I didn't quite get it where I wanted. So what did I do wrong? What could I do that would make it a little better? Okay, I hit it high in the middle, and it came a little too high. It didn't come quite as far forward as I want. So this time, if I want it to go a little more forward, I'm going to put just a shade of left English, not very much, maybe like a tip or half tip. And what that does is make it go down a little bit more. Okay. And these, once again, this time I got perfect position. And you see that I made a mistake that time, but I learned something from it, and I know what to do to correct it. And as you're playing a game of 9-ball, as you keep playing different shots, you should learn from the shots that don't work out quite right. Okay, now we're going to move the 9. We're going to play the same shot again. We're going to move it up here because when you're playing 9-ball, you get the balls laying in a lot of different ways. We are going to keep the cue ball and the 8 in the same place, but show you how to play position on the 9. Now, on this 8-ball, now I'm still going into the rail. But now what I'd like to do is, instead of falling forward and hitting the rail here, I'm going to draw it back a little and hit it a little higher. What I like to do is just bounce up, just be sure I miss this side pocket, and come over close to this rail. If I'm a little short, okay. If I hit the rail and bounce off a little, okay. But I want someplace in this general area here. The main thing I want to guard against scratching in this side pocket. Now, before we hit it high with just a shade of left English to play position on this ball here. Now, where do we put the tip on the cue ball to play position on the 9? Now, naturally, if we're going to, instead of hitting the rail here, we want it to hit higher, we've got to hit it lower. We've got to hit it below the center, okay. Maybe on this shot, the angle of it, hit it a little below center with just a shade of natural English, which is right English in this case. Just be sure you don't scratch in that side. And once you get your speed down, that one worked out real nice. We got a nice straight in on the 9, and it's good position. What we did, we just moved our tip lower, and we used a little right English instead of left English to bring it back. Okay, now another shot. And this one, people come up with this sometimes. They just say, how am I going to get position on this 9? It's way up at the other end of the table. Okay. Well, if you look real close, this is almost the same as the last shot we shot. We came off the rail and came at this angle. Okay, and we ended up here, right, where you say, well, I don't want that shot on the 9. That's a tough, thin cut. But it's still the basic principle. The only difference is when we come off this rail, instead of coming off at this angle, okay, now we want to widen the angle and come into this rail. Just want to be sure we want to come in short of this corner. Hit about any place along the rail from about here to here. We got like a foot room of air. And then the cue ball is going to bounce off the rail and just drift down here for a straight in on the 9. And it's the basic shot as the last one was, except we're just going to hit it lower so that we widen the angle and maybe just a shade more right English. That right English helps widen that angle when it comes off the rail. Okay, and I'm bouncing off the rail, and I've ended up with a nice easy shot on the 9. Some of you may say, well, that's still a little bit too much angle. Okay, I came in a little high. I came right toward this dot here on the table and bounced off. Okay, if you want to get more straight in, how do you do that? You want to end up here instead of here, where I've got to hit this rail about 3 or 4 inches lower. To do that, I have to either do one of two things: hit the cue ball lower or hit the cue ball with more right English. In this particular case, I'm going to try to hit it with just a little of both, a little lower, a little more right English. Okay, and I'm coming a little lower, a couple inches lower. Still not quite as low as I want, but you can see the difference. Before it was about here. This time it's a little lower. And you got a pretty nice, easy shot on the 9 ball. And these shots just come up rack after rack after rack. And you've got to practice them until you feel you have the confidence where you can get the right angle coming off the rails. And if you don't get the position that you're looking for, just think, how can I adjust so that I can correct it so that I will get the position on the next ball? Position play is the key to winning pool. Okay, now we're going to go to the side pocket. Position shot. We're going to put the 9 ball close to the end rail here. The other two examples that I showed you all dealt with corner pocket, the object ball going in the corner pocket. Now we're going to show you some side pocket position shots. We're going to start out with one where we want to play the 5 ball in this pocket, and then we want to play position on this 9 ball. So in this case, all we've got to do is go to this rail and just slide down for a nice easy shot on the 9. To do that, we hit the cue ball above center, close to the top, and just follow forward, bounce off the rail, and drift down for a nice easy shot on the 9. Okay, and that worked out real nice. Okay, now the next example of the same shot, we're going to put the balls right back where they were, except for this 9. Now, let's say that you end up on the 5. Okay, 5's in the same place, cue ball's in the same place. But now, we've got to play position on the 9, and it's up here. And we've got to cut the ball on the side, so the cue ball is going to go this way. How do we play position? Okay. Well, we're going to follow it forward, use high left English, and hit this rail, this rail, this rail, and try to come in short of this corner and just drift down for an easy shot on the 9. To do that, we've got to shoot hard enough to get the cue ball around the table, and we're going to use a little left English. That helps speed the cue ball up, and we've got to shoot pretty hard on this. Okay, and it missed the corner pocket. Nice, easy shot on the 9. Same shot as before. The 5 and the cue ball were in the same identical spot. Okay. Just a little different way to go play position on the 9. Now, let's say that where the cue ball slid off and hit this rail, let's put the 7 ball here. Move the 9 up. Okay, let's say that we're playing 9 ball. We got the 9 ball. Now we want to play position on this 7. Okay, now We can't do that. We can't do what we did the last time. Last time we followed forward. Now the 9's blocking that path to go 3 rails. How do we do it now? Okay, now what's open to us for a position shot is now we can double this corner. We can use low left English on the cue ball, come off the 5 and draw it over toward this corner, hit this rail, and try to again come in short of the corner pocket and just drift down for a nice shot on the 7. The 9 ball makes you change your position strategy on this shot. So you got to use a lot of low draw and a lot of left English. The draw draws it over so you can double the corner, and the left spin again speeds up the cue ball when it hits the rail. And we're coming in short of the corner. See, I'm always guarding all these position shots. I'm always guarding, and we got a perfect shot on the 7. I'm always guarding against coming in and missing these pockets. In this case, it was a corner pocket. Before, when we was coming across the table, we was trying to miss a side pocket. But notice that I'm always guarding against keeping that cue ball in play. Now, what we're going to do next is show you what you do when you maybe don't have such a good shot, and show you some defensive techniques that you can use to help you win some games. Normally, you might just go ahead and take a flyer and give up. Defensive techniques. Now, the ones that I like, instead of just playing straight defense, it may come up where a lot of times you're just playing strictly defense, just trying to keep your opponent from scoring. But the type of techniques I like are kind of offensive, defensive type techniques where you try to score and at the same time you're playing defense on your opponent. And we've got the ball set up here where I've got a awful thin cut on this 1 ball. Now, a lot of people, the easiest way to make this one would be hit the cue ball about the middle, try to cut it in this left pocket, and just whack it and hope maybe you catch these balls coming off this 2nd rail and splatter them and hope you get straight in on the 1. But that's, you're taking 2 risks. You're taking a risk on missing the 1, leaving your opponent a shot, and you might make the 1 and hit these balls and get a bad row and not get shape. But if you really look at this shot close, I've got a wall of 3 balls here. If I shoot this shot easy and try to spin it in with a lot of right English and shoot easy so that that 1 ball ends up close to this corner pocket, I've got a nice protective wall here to snooker my opponent. And at the same time, that low right English is going to bring the cue ball off the 1 into this rail, and bring it down someplace toward the 9, where if it happens to fall in, I'm going to have a shot on the 2 where I can run out. So I'm taking basically just a free shot on winning the game with almost no risk to losing the game. Like I say, I'm going to try to spin it, and easy, here's the key. Okay, and the 1's practically hung up. I did miss it. Okay, I would have liked to have made it, because look at the nice shot I got on the 2. Then I could have just run out the rest of the balls. But my opponent's got to kick 1 rail, and even if he kicks it in, it's close to the hole, you say, well, maybe he'll kick it in. He might kick it in, but you can see that when he comes off this rail to kick it in and hits this ball almost full to make it, that cue ball is going to end up someplace right in here. And look where that 2 ball's at. So even if he happens to make a phenomenal shot, he's still in trouble. So it shows you that a lot of times you can think a little bit and increase your chances of winning. And I'm going to show you another shot. I'll just leave the rest of these balls basically the same, but just show you that 1 table, by just moving the cue ball and the 1 ball, how things change. Now, a shot like this, a bank shot on the 1, a lot of people might just whack it in pretty firm. They might bank this 1, make it hit this round, go over here and shoot firm, because most players prefer to shoot kind of a firm speed on their shots rather than rolling it easy. But look at this shot. If you look close, here's another wall of balls. If I shoot this easy and make the 1 try to bank it in this pocket, if I shoot easy and just slip up past this 7 and hit the rail and then use a little right English and shoot soft so that the cue ball drifts down here, well, I'm taking a free shot on making the 1, getting position on the 2, and where I can run out if it goes in, but if I miss, my opponent's stuck here behind this whole row of balls. And here the thing is, you're not going to be as accurate by shooting it slow and with a lot of right English, because that makes it tougher to make this one ball. But if it does go in, you're out. But if it doesn't, you don't get penalized for missing. Okay, now I overcut the one a little bit, but I've got him right behind this four where he's going to have a pretty tough time just hitting the one, because he can't go to the left here any place and hit it. He's going to have to go 2 rails and hit it, and he might miss it. So that shows you a couple of defensive shots where you're not only playing defense on your opponent, but if they go in, you're playing offense where you can go ahead and run out and win the game by just thinking a little bit about how to play a shot instead of just concentrating on the ball that you're shooting and try to shoot it firm where you give up and lose the game if you miss. We've covered 4 basic points in 9-ball. The points we've covered, we started out with the break, showed you how to break the balls, and show you how it sets you up to win the game or possibly to lose the game. Next, we ran through 3 different racks of 9 balls, showed you a little bit about pattern play, how you have to think and plan ahead. Now, after the pattern play, we showed you 3 basic shots and 2 or 3 examples of each to show how the different balls on the table make you change your mind as far as how you play position on a certain shot. And those basic tools, those 3 basic examples, are the tools, they just keep coming up rack after rack. You use them every game. And those tools are one of the keys to running out more consistently in 9-ball. And the last thing was defensive strategy. And the defensive examples we showed you were ones where you can take a free shot on winning the game, where instead of just taking a flyer and taking a chance, a real risky chance on winning the game, you can take an absolute, almost free chance to win the game where you've still got your opponent in a bad position, even if you miss. If you learn anything from this 9-ball film, I think the most important things are the fact that you've got to think ahead, you've got to plan ahead, and you've got to practice executing all the different shots that we showed you so that you can execute them time after time. Because I don't know any good player that got good by accident. He got good by one thing: practice, practice, practice. And I'd like to thank Jim and Bonnie Parker here at the Illinois Billiard Club for providing their facility for this videotape. And they've got one of the nicest clubs in the country right here in Chicago.
Cool Hand, Nick Varner, Owensboro, Kentucky.
I'm gonna have to stretch here, Jim.
Yeah, this is gonna be a little
Looks
trick.
like the old bridge shot trick here, Larry.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, as you can see, is not a basketball player for sure, so I think he's going to have to take the bridge.
Left-handed.
Choose to shoot this shot left-handed.
Mike,
Good.
you traveled with Nick. How good does he use the bridge? Does he use the bridge very good?
Very good, yeah. I think all straight pool players use the bridge very well, and Nick's a champion straight pool player.
Well, he's got to do something with the cue ball here. It looks like he's going to have to go follow this ball and go 3 rails around.
He could.
Maybe.
Well, he's got 2 or 3 options. He could follow it, draw it past the side down table, or just settle to go in the center of the table. And he chose to try and get in the center of the table to take a thinner cut on the 7-ball, but it obviously went too far.
Looks as though he's going to have to bank this ball straight back, but being from Kentucky, I want to tell you what, they
all
bank
bank.
balls very well down in the South.
Yeah, looks like his cue ball is swing 2 rails with the 8 in the side.
Made it.
1, 2. 2 rails, 8 in the side. Cool in. Very consistent top finisher.
As I mentioned, those boys from the South, they can bank them balls. It's just like a normal shot to them.
That was a nice shot there. How do you hit that shot with the speed?
How's the position, Mike?
Looks pretty good.
Nick Varner.
Routine, routine.
Well, at the end of 6 games of our competition here in our 30-game race, Jimmy Reed has 3 games, Nick Varner has 2, Larry Hubbard 1, and Danny Medina still looking for his first win. Kind of reminds me of Jimmy Fusco last night. Danny Medina, he doesn't seem to have had a shot yet.
Yeah, Fusco was following the wrong guy last night. That was his problem. Who was that?
Jeez, who was he following? I can't remember, but he
Captain
didn't get
Hook.
rolling until the
Captain Hook.
He was following Captain Hook.
Mike
He
Siegel.
corner hooked him, remember?
I corner hooked him. Imagine that.
Captain Hook.
All right, let's see. Nick breaks the balls real well. Let's see what happens here.
Nick definitely has one of the most explosive breaks
He
in the
can't weigh
country.
more than 120
It's
pounds.
surprising because that's right, Larry. He doesn't weigh very much, but boy, he hits him hard.
Would you classify him like the Sugar Ray Robinson or the Willie Pep for fighting for pool, pound for pound? He hits him harder than anyone, doesn't he?
He certainly does.
It was funny when Nick Varner and I played in the World Straight Pool Championship in '80. They said that we don't weigh 100 pounds between the two of us.
Banks are like straight in for Nick.
As I mentioned earlier, being from Kentucky, the bank shots seem rather easy to a guy like Nick Varner.
He looks like he's in a little tricky situation here. 2 looks fairly straight in on the rail. 4's all the way up table. Great shot there.
Another bank.
Thanks. Well, that's 3 balls he's banked just in the last frame and a half. Somebody should tell this man he doesn't have to bank every ball. He can shoot him straight in if he likes.
Does the 4 ball go by the 6? Can you see from here?
I think he's going to play a combination, the 4 and then the 6.
Well, he can cut it in.
Wow, what a shot. As you can see, I was right again.
Now what?
Now it looks like he's got to cut the 5 in and go 4 rails maybe around the table.
Can't billiard. He's going to have to cut the 5 in now. He could slide this ball when inside English, but it's a very tough shot.
Well, do you think he can billiard the 8, Mike?
I don't think so from here. He's either going to
I think
have
he's
to
gonna
slide
cut-
the 5 or go around the table, one of the 2.
He's going to cut this 5 ball in, I believe.
4 rails around the table.
Yep.
If you get under the 7, he's perfect.
It looks perfect.
Looks perfect to me, too. That's dead perfect.
Dead
Under the
perfect.
7. Great shot by Nick Varner.
How about him? Couldn't play the billiard. Couldn't make a billiard from there. How about that shot? Try and explain that to somebody that has a job.
That was 5 rail position.
Well, Jim, Nick Varner looks off pretty, like he's hit him very well and off to a good start. He's made 3 tough bank shots, tough cut around the table.
Well, it's very important playing in a ring game to get out of the gate early, and so far Jimmy Reed and Nick Varner have gotten out of the gate, and they've left Danny Medina and Larry Hubbard back at the post. I think I heard that on a Pepsi commercial, wasn't it? Nick Varner.
Good shooting. Well, hit them balls solid. Here comes the 8 looking at the 9.
Look,
Spin,
8
kiss
ball.
off the 6.
How do you like that?
The old kiss shot coming down the table, the 8 ball, kissing off the 6 and into the corner, and giving Nick Varner yet another opportunity to win a game here and perhaps take the lead.
Jimmy, how much, Jimmy, what do you think for this? How much luck is actually involved in a ring game like this for these players of these caliber? Because they're all championship.
Well, these
world
aren't the type of players, Larry, that look to luck balls in. We have seen a couple of balls go in the wrong pocket tonight, and that's lucky. But believe me, these guys don't play for luck. They know what they're doing at all times.
No, what I meant was, do you think luck has much to do with the outcome of the winning of a ring game between 3
that's
players
right.
of this, 4 players of this caliber?
Absolutely. I would rather be lucky than good.
And you're exactly right. I agree. because if you don't get shots, there's nothing that you could do.
See what happened there? Look, he just tickled the 9. He thought he wouldn't hit the 9. Now he's snookered. He's got a possibility to even jump.
Yeah. I think what you might see here is the legal jump shot here.
This is very good at this.
This is the legal way to jump a ball.
Boy, I mean, hey, Jimmy, Reed. He's played
Oh,
Well, he did jump the ball, but failed to pocket the 3, and Danny Medina left again with no shot.
well,
That was, well, Danny Medina doesn't seem to have too much of it. He looks like he may be able to bank the 3 in the side or the corner, but the 6 looks like it might be blocking the corner pocket.
Well, he's in tough position with the 3. He's in tough position with the 5.
Oh. Well, that's what it goes sometimes in the ring games. A lot of times players don't seem to get shots.
Well, Larry, it's the Iceman's turn here.
boy, this looks like a pretty tough run out to me, Jim. That 5 and 9 seems to be the problem. He's got to go from the 3 over the side to the 4. The 5 and the 9 lays tough. It just looks very tough.
Yeah,
You
the
be getting
5,
to
the 5's frozen on the cushion, and
Yes,
the
it
9 is a little bit off the cushion, so he really doesn't have a very good combination shot there. First, he's going to have to make the 3 ball before we
Yeah.
start talking about 9 balls.
Yeah, that was. I thought you would have followed that maybe.
Players have tendency to be worried. In other words, Larry figured to make that shot, but worrying about the 4, the 5, and the 9 is you kind of lose your concentration on a ball like that sometimes, thinking ahead and watching the cue ball or something. That basically looks like what happened to Larry that time.
This is no bargain either.
No.
The 3, he's got a lot of angle on the 3. You have to hit the 3 awful good to get on the 4 ball. May scratch. There's a lot of possibilities. And if he gets on the 4, the 5 is a problem.
Well, so far, Jimmy Reed and Nick Varner have had, what I can see, the most opportunities to make balls. Danny Medina hasn't had any chance at all. Larry Hubbard's had a few chances. But that's the way ring 9 ball is. You got to hope to get a shot. You don't get any shots, let's face it, brother, you ain't going to go home with no dough.
Look at this shot.
He got behind it. And he
Call
can
your
make it
next
in the corner.
pocket. And he's got a good shot here. He can play the 4. He may even be able to hit the 5 with the cue ball.
I think Jimmy might have hit the numbers there, Mike. He come right over. He's got straight in on the 4, as you said, and he might play the 5-9 after this. Have to wait and see.
How about that shot?
He tried to nudge the 5 off
Yeah.
the rail to make it a little easier combination. Good shot by Jimmy Reed.
Well, he's got a possibility here, either a combination or a billiard on the 9. He can graze the 5, cue ball drift into the 9.
I think
Looks,
that's what he's going to do, Mike. He's going to play a billiard here. Rather than a combination, he's going to hit the outside part of the 5, go down the table with the cue ball, and try to pocket the 9.
He missed it. He left Nick Varner very tough here. He's
Goes through
jacked
so
up.
fast.
Well, those shot, yeah, that shot, they look easy, but they're missed an awful lot.
Goes through so fast, it's unbelievable.
What, the bridge?
It goes through the object ball.
This here, I would have to say, Mike, is the most difficult shot in pool when you're jacked up over a ball such as Nick is right here. I can't think of a shot that's any more difficult in the game of pool than this one right here. Can you?
No, this is definitely the toughest shot. I've learned that I shoot these shots myself. I shoot these with my elbow. I don't shoot them with my arm like I normally do with normal shots, and I find I make more shots that way over a ball. He made a great shot
Dead
there.
center. Nice shot by Nick Varner.
Cool hand, they call him.
Well, he's got to cut the 6 in, past the 9, and he should get some kind of good shot on the 7. 7's right in the center of the table. Wow.
Here comes the cue ball.
Like
Well,
I
he's got
said, he'll
tough
probably get
hands.
some kind of a good shot.
He got a bad kiss there, though.
Yeah.
He was hoping for a little better shot than this.
Jimmy, do you think he'll bank this as good as he's been banking, or cut it in the corner?
I don't
This
know
is-
what he's going to do here, but I know one thing. Danny Medina hopes he misses. It'll give him a chance to finally get back in a running here a little bit. He still hasn't won a game yet. He hasn't had a shot yet. He's sitting on deck right now, Danny
He's going
Medina.
to cut this ball in the corner, I believe. Great shot.
Well, these players have a tendency to make it look easy, don't they, Jimmy?
Yes, they do. Nick Varner is now taking the lead with 5 games.